you guys, I'm Shamaya. It's like papaya, except it's not. And this is Plot Twist Please. How are y'all doing? It's been a while since I've recorded an episode. I hope that my camera isn't shaky as I'm talking because I'm sitting my phone on my lap as I'm recording this. It's been a hot minute since I've talked to y'all. I've just been chilling. Actually, I haven't been chilling. I've been working really hard. And then I had like a long period of rest because I was just in a show. And for most of the month of October, I've decided that I'm just gonna rest and get this content out for y'all. And I'm launching my Patreon October 1st, which is this Friday. So by the time this is posted, it'll be live. Oh, I'm excited, y'all. I really am. People are already telling me how stoked they are and how they're ready to be part of it. And so I'm so excited and grateful for the people who are wanting to be patrons, or even for the people who haven't decided yet that they want to be patrons. Honestly, every little bit helps. Even if you aren't willing to necessarily commit to any tier amount, any kind of donation is really beneficial, both for this platform and for the people who I'm trying to serve through this platform. Plot Twist Please is a platform that is dedicated to promoting mental health, particularly for neurodivergent people of color. It's just a cause that's really close to my heart. And I think that when talking about culture, when talking about wellness, when talking about media, I think that all of those sectors are intertwined, especially as it pertains to neurodiversity and race, different mediums within our culture and our society and how we view people and how we interact with people. I think it's really important to bridge the gap between those things. They all exist in the same plane, that they all affect one another, both directly and indirectly. So, yeah, that's kind of what that's all about. If you like what I'm saying to you, or maybe kind of are on the fence, still like this episode, subscribe to this channel, and share it with your friends, or your foes, or the people who you haven't talked to in a while and just want to see how they're doing. Check in on your friends, y'all. Check in on your friends. But I'm excited today because this episode is going to be about Black hair, and very specifically African-American, African, natural. It goes by many names, but hair that is kinky, all right? We're talking about like 4C, 4B. This is the minimum wave requirement, okay? I need us to be focused. I need us to focus. I'm also gonna, hold on, y'all. I'm gonna put this in a different position. We're trying to do this right, 2021. We are not trying to make the same mistakes. We'll make different ones, but we won't make the same ones. Sorry, this is my honey. I don't know why I just picked this up. Oh, because I was moving it. Okay. Change the positioning. Hey, girl. Something really weird happened the other day. I was on TikTok. There was a TikTok that was saying, these are the songs that are 10 years old today. And it was like the songs from like my middle school dance. Sing me. And like the I'm sexy and I know it, man. I'm sexy and I know it. I was like, pardon? Je m'excuse? But yeah, I'm trying to bring more of myself into these episodes because I feel like I've been so serious with y'all. And yes, this is serious subject matter, but I also just want to be myself. This is she. So I made a TikTok the other day that got a lot of traction talking about Black hair, specifically Afrocentric hair, and how the way that Black people tend to take care of our hair differs throughout the seasons, especially if we live in the Midwest. I live in the Midwest, and so how I care for my hair during the winter is different than how I care for my hair during the summer. And a lot of non-Black people were very surprised at that fact, which I understand because we know a lot about non-Black hair textures. We know a lot about, people who are Caucasian. I don't even know how to say it, y'all. I'm just gonna say it. About white people. We know about y'all hair types because it's what's in the shampoo commercials. Whiteness permeates the beauty industry and is a foundational aspect of the beauty industry. And obviously that excludes Black women and Black people. And so you don't know a lot about Black hair because you don't have to. Whereas we know a lot about how white people take care of their hair just because we've been in white spaces, a lot of us predominantly white spaces, especially as a performer, and I'll get to that, y'all. But I know a lot about how white people take care of their hair because I've been in the midst of a lot of white people talking about how they take care of their hair. I've seen commercials that, whether they say it or not explicitly, that's the demographic because that is the mainstream. We know better. That's how the beauty industry markets pretty much everything. Whiteness is the goal. And so, no, y'all don't know, if you're not Black and you're listening to this or watching this, no, you don't know a lot about Black hair. But here's a golden opportunity to educate yourself. I'm going to talk about today how Hollywood seems to have a real problem with natural Black hair. Now, Vogue magazine, y'all know her, right? So Vogue released an article in 2019 about this very topic. Not necessarily in Hollywood, but in general. It was called A Brief History of Black Hair, Politics, and Discrimination. It was written by Jamila Nasheed. It was talking about how in 2019, New York and California became the first states to deem hair discrimination as illegal. So 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, 2 out of the 50 states, all right, said that hair discrimination is illegal. What about the other ones? Anywho, this was under the Crown Act. So first it was California, and then New York followed suit shortly after, summer 2019. So if you're asking yourself, how is it possible that it took this long for someone to say, hey, the hair that grows out of your head naturally, it's not a crime, or is not a license for someone to say whether or not you are professional, whether or not you are able to do your job because of the texture of your hair. I know. But only 2 states have passed that law. And I believe it has only been 2 up to this point, because that was a couple of years ago. That's just a little window, okay, a little snapshot. So the Crown Act seems to be in direct contrast with what was passed in the 1700s, which required Creole women to cover their heads with headdresses, scarves or handkerchiefs or tignons, as a way to indicate that they belong to the slave class. So basically they were like, don't y'all get too big for your britches, you're still beneath us. Honestly, I think they were just jealous, but that's just me. Neither here nor there. So this happened even despite the fact that a lot of these women were actually freed from slavery. This law required them to indicate publicly that they were still part of the slave class. So yeah, those are the roots. Now fast forward to now, where 48 of the states still have not made it illegal to discriminate based on hair texture. So yeah, you'll see people getting passed up job opportunities because their hair doesn't look professional. It's not on the sleek styling that you see a lot of Caucasian women fashioning. Fascinating fact for you. In 1976, the case Jenkins versus Blue Cross Mutual Hospital Insurance, it was determined that Afros were in fact protected under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Again, we need something to tell us that it was okay to wear our hair the way it grew out of our head. You know. I'm going to link the full article below so you can get the full picture. But basically, it has been a long time debate of what Black hair means, what it should mean, and what needs to be done in order for us to be able to take up space while existing as our full Black proud selves. I remember being younger, getting my hair relaxed. And if you don't know, Black people tend to use the term relaxed and permed interchangeably. So when you get a relaxer, it's a less severe version of a perm. So for white people, a perm tends to mean that you make your hair curly. But for Black people, a perm means you make your hair straight. And it's with a lot of chemicals that tend to be damaging to your hair over a long period of time. And so in the pursuit to fit into these Eurocentric beauty standards, or in fact to gain capital, seeking professionalism, we end up damaging our hair for the sake of survival. Because I realized too, and I want to talk about this more in depth, but for a lot of people, especially for non-white people, fitting into a Eurocentric beauty standard is survival. You know, sometimes that's all someone has going for them, and they really have to capitalize on that in order to get money, in order to earn their keep, in order to get access to certain circles and certain social groups, in order to reach a certain status. You know, beauty is currency. This is the way it's always been. Beauty has always been currency for women, and particularly for Black women, it's a complicated relationship because in order to have access to that currency, you have to sacrifice something. And then you have to make the decision of whether or not that sacrifice is worth it. You have to sacrifice something that is integral to who you are, to the very fabric of your being, and that's a very hard decision to have to make. And as an actress, I have to make that decision all the time, you know, and sometimes I go one way or the other, but depending on what, you know, the market wants, it definitely influences the decisions that I make in regards to my hair. Now, I have decided to go non-toxic routes with that. And by that, I mean, I don't put any chemicals in my hair that don't grow from the ground unless I just really need a deep clean or something deep, some deep, like rising up from the grave of my hair follicles. If that's not necessary, then I try to use the jojoba oil. I try to use the shea butters, the natural fixins, all right? But a lot of the time, I'm doing something to my hair, or I'm putting something on that does not necessarily represent my actual heritage, does not represent how I actually exist in the world. And for a lot of Black people, that is the caveat, because I remember being young and going to school with those twists in my hair before I was aware that Blackness was so demonized, before I was conscious of my Blackness, as I like to say. I thought I was the flyest thing in the world. I thought I was so cute with my little dookie braids. Y'all know the ones, if you grew up Black, you know what I'm talking about. The ones that were the big Walla Kanaba braids with the barrettes and the clips. And I was just swinging my hair. I was just like, girlfriend, you don't even know. You don't even get it. Ooh, I thought it was fly. I got to school I remember it was first grade or something. And I showed up for my picture day. I just remember feeling so embarrassed. Someone definitely pointed them out and did not seem impressed. Seemed very opposite of impressed. That just really hurt. It really hurt. I just felt so small. I felt so confused, and I didn't understand why someone would deem that as not beautiful. I thought it was beautiful until someone told me that it was ugly. I cried when I got home. And I remember going through predominantly white institutions as I have my entire life. I've only gone to predominantly white schools, except for a couple years of my life. College, high school, middle school, thought that my hair was too thick. I would say multiple times, my hair is too thick. I just wish it would not be this thick. Because I saw all my friends with their silky long hair, and I saw how they swung it, and I saw how guys looked at them when they swung it, and I was like, guys don't look at me like that. And so that kind of stuff, that kind of messaging, you absorb it because you're a child and you're a sponge, and it sinks in, and you equate whiteness with beauty and with value because everyone around you has up to that point equated whiteness with beauty and with value. I had officially unlocked a stark reality that the way that my hair grew out of my head, and consequently my existence, was political. Regardless of what my parents could have done, they could have told me I was beautiful every single day of the week. But when I go outside, when I spend 8 hours out of their sight a day, I'm getting a different message. I was getting a different message. And a lot of us are, a lot of Black children are, reading books whenever it was a romantic arc. Someone would run their fingers through the woman's hair, and that was always a romantic gesture. And I just knew that was never going to be my reality. And by the way, this needs to be noted, this is not my natural hair texture. I'm not trying to act light skin out here, okay? I'm a 4C kinky queen, okay? For those of you who don't understand the lingo, so kinky, when we're talking about hair, is like the really tight coils. That's called kinky. I'm not talking about the other kind of kinky. You better stop. That was my experience, and it didn't feel good. And honestly, I'm still dealing with some underlying trauma and trying to deconstruct the idea of what beauty and what desirability means to me as a fully Black woman. And I get that I also do fit the Afrocentric beauty mold in a lot of other ways, but that hair thing can really get ya. The attitude of natural Afrocentric hair has evolved over the years and is becoming a lot more geared toward liberation in terms of the natural hair movement. Mainstream TV shows featuring Afrocentric hairstyles, twists, box braids on Black people. Okay. But I also think it's important to note that a lot of these same TV shows only center a specific type of Black person. I might talk about that another time, but colorism, texturism, and sizeism still plays a role, even though we are so, liberated, that people love seeing Black hair, people love seeing afros, people like seeing certain types of afros, okay, on mainstream television. People like seeing certain types of Black people, the light-skinned or the mixed race. And here's the thing. I am fully aware that the diaspora is vast. I am fully aware that Black people come in all shapes, tones, sizes, textures. I get it. But when the majority that you see on screen, and even more particularly when the majority that you see being painted as lovable, palatable for white audiences, deserving of romantic attention or romantic arcs, it's giving paper bag test. It's giving the shade of Beyonce is the darkest we will go. But anyway, Hollywood in correlation with the natural hair movement. And let's note for a minute that these hairstyles are a form of resistance, and they speak, I think, about the struggle that it is to be a Black woman. Because a lot of the time, people will be like, oh, your hair must be so strong. Look how vibrant it is. Why am I talking like I'm in the Great Debaters? So though these styles represent us and who we are, a lot of the time on sets and on stages, the burden of spending the long hours, spending the money of getting these things done in order to look presentable on stage or on screen falls on the Black actors themselves. I've had some personal experience with that. Lots of heat damage, and again, lots of time. And also Lupita Nyong'o, Solange, a lot of celebrities have had issues with media publications either cropping out their afros or asking them to change them or to straighten them for the sake of being on the cover of a magazine. And boo to them. Bo. Now fast forward to 2021, in Teen Vogue, Shama Nasind, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, in a Teen Vogue article raises the question, why is Black hair still an afterthought in Hollywood? Do y'all remember this one? Yeah. Do y'all remember how she always wore headbands? Apparently that was because the makeup and hair team didn't know how to style the front of her head, and a headband was an easy fix. Now, if I was in a major motion picture film and I saw all my white co-stars, particularly women, getting this blowout treatment and just hair looking glossy and hair looking rich and healthy, and somebody slapped a headband on my head and called it a day, y'all, I'd be like, something stink. And since that article was published, other celebrities have offered up their own experiences of having to either deal with someone not knowing how to do their hair on a professional set, or with a largely recognized and well-funded theater company, head-on discrimination, or simply having to do it themselves. Too often we end up spending time, money, and resources doing things that simply are not in our job description. But I do think that with us continuing to support the Crown Act and getting it passed throughout the country in every single state, and also through us being mindful of how we are seeking to represent people, particularly people of color in media, whether you are a TV producer, whether you are a filmmaker, whether you are a screenplay writer and want to specify the kind of actors that you would want for these characters, whether you are being mindful as a stylist or as a hairdresser on a set or behind the scenes, or for the stage, or for a fashion show, I think that it behooves us to hold ourselves accountable for our part. I think it's our responsibility, and the resources are out there, so let's do it. If you ask me, I know you didn't technically, but if you were to ask me, I'd say it's time we stop asking Black people to go the extra mile. I'd say something like that. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Plot Twist Please. Again, I am Shamaya. And, stay weird, y'all. Bye.